All right, everybody, welcome to Sports Talk Uncut. As always, Dan Siegel alongside Anthony Servino, and we've got a lot to jump into, so let's jump right into it. But first, before we get into anything football-wise, I have to talk about something that many people probably don't realize. Why I and most of America have spent the last 2 days watching the NCAA tournament and now sit here in just pure awe and amazement that after over 100 tries, a 16 seed finally knocked off a 1 seed. My partner and co-host, Anthony Servino, has not watched a single second of the NCAA tournament and has no idea what I'm even talking about with a 16 knocking off a 1.
Well, come on. Give me a little bit of credit. 16 seed knocking off a 1 seed. I totally get it.
All right. But you are so un-American. You don't watch any of the tournament.
No, not at all.
Good God.
Listen, I'm not a big college sports guy. You know that. Even football. I'm a football guy, but I don't really pay attention. Well, I know the players I need to know. I'll take a look at, all the, Walter Football or Mel Kiper, all the draft gurus. When they put out their top, 100 or 200 prospects who could be in the NFL draft preseason, I'll look at that and I'll follow them. But, college sports don't do it for me. If anything, I like the girls' tournament.
Well, that's a whole other issue.
My cousin played at Quinnipiac, so they were a pretty good school years ago.
I would say I'm sure they're a powerhouse. But you're missing the storylines, okay? 16 knocking off the 1 last night. Virginia goes down. The FBI couldn't take out Arizona, but the tournament did. Trae Young, who we've talked about on this show, thanks to LeBron, his hype train somehow got him into the tournament and quickly got him out. You're missing all that because you haven't watched a single second.
Where my head's at, NFL free agency.
All right.
Season never ends.
All right, enough of that. Trae Young, goodbye. Let's get to NFL. And before we dive into free agency, let's do breaking news. Literally just happened 5 minutes ago. The Jets have moved up to the number 3 pick, trading with the Colts. Colts drop down to 6 and get 3 additional second-round picks. Tons of implications with this move. What are you thinking off the top of your head?
I'm thinking the Jets are moving up to take a quarterback. I'm not sure who they're targeting because, you have the Browns. They're still at number 1. And the Giants are at number 2. What are the Giants going to do? Are they anticipating Saquon Barkley dropping? Because there are rumors that he could fall. Or are they going to take their quarterback of the future? This move, and the Bills are trying to move up. There could potentially be 3 quarterbacks taken in the first 5 picks.
3 quarterbacks are going to go in the top 5. The Bills have always stated they want to get in the top 5. Here's where I'm thinking. Yes, the Jets are trying. I think the Jets are trying to get a quarterback. I don't anticipate Barkley falling. The Browns, I think, will more than likely take Barkley at 1. I'd be very, very surprised if they don't. And assuming Barkley goes at 1, then there's the issue of what I've been saying for the past few weeks here when we talk about the Giants at 2, the Giants trading the pick. And the fact that the Jets moved up to 3 now has implications on that because the 3 pick was worth moving back 3 spots and 3 second-round picks. So what is that 2 pick worth now? That throws a monkey wrench into things because I'm certainly not looking at sliding back however many spots in the first and then getting second-round picks. That's not worth trading out of the 2.
I mean, yes and no. I can totally buy into teams who want to stockpile second-round picks. Like, look at the Colts. They got 3 seconds, 2 this year, 1 next year. And look what the Patriots do with their second and third-round picks. That's where you build your team off of. The Giants, however, they're in a different position than the Colts. The Giants are only a few pieces away from being a contender. The Colts are a lot further away, and stockpiling picks in that case makes sense. The Giants case, you're completely 100% right. They don't need to stockpile picks. They need to get best player available or your quarterback for the future.
If assuming Barkley goes at 1, and if they're not enamored with a quarterback at 2, then the move is still to trade out. It's just that trade, I think, really hurts the value of that pick. Like if Gettleman's plan has been to trade out at 2, and we've seen what trades have happened, what those picks have gotten in the past few years. You look at like an RG3 type deal or things like that. That deal just now kills it.
Didn't the Jets pay a king's ransom like that to trade up to get Sanchez? Or am I mistaken there?
I don't remember them trading up and doing anything like that for Sanchez. I could be mistaken though. I don't remember that though. But and here's the thing to remember too, as the Giants, and we'll get into this when we talk about the free agency moves, the Giants are trying to build up that O-line. Gettleman, everybody's in love with Quentin Nelson, the guard from Notre Dame. A guard at 2 is a tough thing. Teams do it, but it's a tough sell. And Gettleman is good at picking out O-linemen, especially in second and third rounds, who turn out to be all pros. So I wouldn't jump at the idea that if Barkley goes at 1 and they're not in love with a quarterback, that they're going to stay at 2 and take Nelson.
What would you do there? I'm fully buying into the Giants taking quarterback. I don't see any other move they can make.
It's a matter of how much do they love one of them. That's the thing. Like, are you assuming Barkley goes at 1, okay, so that means you've got the pick of the litter, okay? Is Darnold above everybody? Is Rosen above everybody? Is Allen above everybody? Is Baker Mayfield above everybody? We'll toss that in there for the equation. But, I mean, and what if, okay, and just because it's New York, I have to toss this out there. What will the talk be if the Jets have now moved up to 3 and take Mayfield at 3? Because we were all thinking at 6, the Mayfield connection was there. But now they move up to 3. I mean, this could be a Mitchell Trubisky situation in which we have the Bears basically trade a ransom to move up a spot last year to get the quarterback they could have gotten at 3 anyway. And we're sitting here right now thinking Mayfield at 6 is probably a safe bet, and the Jets have just moved up to 3.
Yeah, that's interesting. You never know what these teams are doing, and with the rumors of the Bills trying to move up, hey, maybe the Jets are ensuring that they're getting their guy, much like the Bears did. And I was one of the biggest critics on the Bears moving up to get Mitchell Trubisky. But that seems to be panning out well, and if the Jets are doing that, hey, more power to them. They have their sights on a quarterback, and they want to get him. But that could be a move. They're trying to jump ahead of the Buffalo Bills.
The Bills are certainly lurking. Here's the thing.
Listen, on my Giants point, as I'm trying to, weed through other options, do you see any scenario where the Giants may think they're going to get Lamar Jackson in the second round?
That's always been my thing, that, you don't have to take a QB at 2. You can trade out, fill another need in the first, because you're not going to trade out of the first, Before the Browns traded away 500 picks, I always thought maybe they could entice the Browns into trading 2 of the later first-round picks to grab 2 as well. But I don't know if Jackson will survive to the second, especially if you get a huge run of quarterbacks early on, like we're anticipating now with the Jets moving up and the Bills trying to get into the top 5. If you get that, if Darnold, Rosen, Allen, and Mayfield are gone in the top 10, Jackson's next in line. I don't know if he's going to get out of the first. I mean, he's very likely probably going to go somewhere in the 20s.
Yeah, because his combine didn't help him out.
No.
I can actually see, Jackson falling out of the first. That wouldn't surprise me.
It's possible. But I mean, it's It's the same thing, okay? You have a mobile quarterback, and at the combine, they're asking a guy to run, to do receiver drills. Like, I don't have a problem with him saying no. Like, this guy was a Heisman Trophy winner. Why am I asking him to do receiver drills?
Do you think the Giants could possibly take Saquon Barkley if he's there? And like I said, address quarterback at a second round level.
I think if somehow the Browns pass at on Barkley at 1, Barkley is very much in play for the Giants at 2.
And do you have any fear that Saquon Barkley is going to end up like other Penn State running backs who are amongst the biggest draft busts in NFL history?
I don't think...
Kijana Carter, Curtis Enos, and Dozer.
Here's the thing, okay? I said this last week. I don't think Barkley is this home run pick like everybody else does, okay? In Penn State, he was a home run hitter. Catches balls out of the backfield, takes them length of the field, breaks a run, takes them. He's not a grinder. He's not a for as much as you love the guy, he's not a Leonard Fournette.
I don't know. I thought you were referencing me loving Saquon Barkley. No, Leonard Fournette, I do. I'm all in Leonard Fournette.
But in comparison to Fournette, Barkley's not a guy who's going to carry the ball 25, 30 times in a game. It's just not going to happen. He's going to get that. You would hope in the right scheme he's going to get that many touches in a game, but not carrying the ball. Here's why Barkley to the Giants makes a little more sense now, because now that they've brought in Jonathan Stewart, who I'm not in love with, that means that Barkley wouldn't be asked to carry the load rushing wise. He could still get carries, but he'd be more the Christian McCaffrey type.
I was just going to go there. I love it.
So that's why it makes more sense for the Giants now than it did a week ago.
A player like Sony Michel, who could, really fall into the second round, he's going to be a steal.
I'll say Michel's an option, and the guy from LSU, oh God, starts with a G. I forget his name already, but he's probably the
Jeez. I can't say it right. I cannot say that name.
He's probably gonna be the other running back in the first. I'll say it wouldn't surprise me if Michel goes late first. I'll say he could fall in the second, but it wouldn't surprise me if he goes late first.
And there's a handful of receivers, and first-round receivers haven't really panned out. I think that's going to be one position that may not garner the attention that it did last season. Or the last first-round receiver that panned out was Odell Beckham. And, Amari Cooper had a solid year, but he didn't, in his rookie year. But nothing like Odell Beckham and nothing like A.J. Green and Julio Jones before him.
Yeah, last year's receiver crop worked out real well. All right, let's dive into free agency. A whole lot to talk about. And as much as I'd like to just do this through divisions, I don't have that structure. So we're going to do this in alphabetical order. So we'll start with the Cardinals. They've basically addressed their O-line and linebacking core. They brought in Andre Smith, former Giant Justin Pugh, got Josh Burns and Jeremy Cash at the linebacker. And in losing Carson Palmer, I think we kind of had the idea that they might draft a quarterback, still on the table, but in the meantime, they signed both Sam Bradford and Mike Glennon. What do you think of what the Cardinals have done thus far?
I absolutely hate it. They also lost John Brown. They lost Jerron Brown from their receiving core. And if I'm Larry Fitzgerald, I'm pissed off right now that I'm coming back to a team that is clearly rebuilding. Their biggest offensive weapon is David Johnson outside of Fitzgerald. Ricky Seals-Jones, Flash. They're paying Sam Bradford $20 million a year to be a bridge quarterback. I don't get it. And there's no guarantees that he's going to make it through the season. The Cardinals are going to be a disaster. They cut the Honey Badger. Their secondary is not going to be the same. Terrible. I'll give that a D. Their whole offseason so far is a D.
Do you think Fitzgerald had no idea?
You would hope that they gave him the respect to say, "Hey, this is what we're doing." But he made his decision knowing Carson Palmer wasn't coming back. So I mean, you can't put it all on the Bidwells.
I don't, like I said, I went into this thinking they were going to draft a quarterback. Remember, they were basically all in on Mahomes last year before KC traded up and grabbed him. So I don't think the plan has changed for them to draft one. And with the likes of Bradford and Glennon in there, I don't think that any of that changes that.
I still think they're going to go quarterback for sure.
All right. The Falcons haven't done much. They've brought in an O-lineman and a guard, and also brought in a corner in Leon McFadden. Atlanta basically not doing much here in the early going.
No, kind of a slow start. I know they tried to get Danny Woodhead before he announced his retirement this morning, and I know they could be in the tight end market, but they could be waiting for the second wave of free agency. They lost Ontari Poe from their defensive line. I could see them replacing him with the younger player in the upcoming draft. That's where I see the Atlanta Falcons going, but their offseason has been very, very quiet so far.
You bring up Danny Woodhead. Are you surprised he retired?
No. At this point, he can't stay on the field. He only played in, I believe, 10 games in the past two seasons. He's been plagued by injury in his career, and it's been a career that maybe nobody really expected him to have, including himself. So he could walk away without getting another concussion and, jeopardizing his future. You can't really blame a player when they do this. He's been in the league 10 years.
I thought he might try and go one more year and try and show that he could stay healthy, but
maybe New England calls him if they have running back issues with injuries. But that's it.
All right, let's go to the Ravens. They brought in a guard in James Hurst, and they've addressed the wide receiver core. They brought in John Brown on a 1-year deal. And after originally giving Ryan Grant a 4-year deal, he failed the physical, and they turned their attention to recently cut Michael Crabtree and gave him a 3-year, $21 million deal.
Typical Ravens move with this. You look back at Derek Mason, Anquan Bolden, Steve Smith, Jeremy Maclin, all receivers on the back nine of their career. And the same thing here with Michael Crabtree. This move makes sense. From a fantasy perspective, I think Crabtree's going to get the targets. I think he will pan out better than Jeremy Maclin, but the key is going to be Joe Flacco and his back, because his back clearly affected him, just like Derek Carr's back clearly affected him last year in Oakland. So I like this move. John Brown, can he stay on the field? He's dealing with his sickle cell trait that hinders his recovery. I'm not sure that's going to pan out well at all. He's just like having another Brashad Perriman, who also never panned out for the Ravens. So aside from Michael Crabtree, there's a lot of still question marks on an aging team with no cap room.
From a fantasy perspective, it's funny. Crabtree for the past 2 years, even though he may not have been the number one option from a Derek Carr viewpoint, numbers wise, he's been the number one option. He's had more touchdowns than Cooper, and he's had much bigger games than Cooper over the last 2 years. Yet fantasy-wise, Cooper has always gone before Crabtree in drafts. And now with the move to Baltimore, I think Crabtree's numbers won't go significantly down, but they'll definitely take a hit, even though he'll be a number one option. I think the fact that he's a number one option will limit the type of production he does. And I think he's going to get drafted higher. So, makes little sense in that equation. The Bills have done a lot of work, especially on the defensive end. Trent Murphy, Star Latue, Kyle Williams, all there on that defensive line. They brought in Julian Stanford, and for the linebacking core, Raphael Bush as a safety. Tre'Davious Cadet and Tywan Jones in at the running back, and A.J. McCarron replaces Tyrod Taylor at quarterback.
The Bills were a playoff team with Tyrod Taylor. They were at least a serviceable team with Tyrod Taylor. I don't know what A.J. McCarron's going to bring. I think the Bills are definitely going to move up in a draft and take their quarterback. And if McCarron starts a month, I'd be surprised. As far as defensively, Sean McDermott's making his mark, and they could be one of the most upgraded defenses in the NFL. And in an NFC and an AFC East, that the Patriots, they're losing key pieces. They could be, the top of the division if the Bills play, or the Jets. I think it's up for grabs. And people could call me crazy for saying that, but I think that's going to be a much more competitive division than it's been for the better part of the past 20 years.
So are you telling me that A.J. McCarron is now in a Mike Glennon situation in which
Absolutely.
he's come?
That was the first thing that came to mind when that happened.
He's come to Buffalo with the full expectation of finally getting the start, and you're telling me they're going to draft a kid and pull the hook on him early?
Absolutely. They're only. I mean, look what they're paying them. At least Glennon got 14 or 17 million last year.
That's true. All right, the Panthers traded for Torrey Smith, claimed Zach Banner for the offensive line. They brought back Julius Peppers, and they snagged who you brought up earlier, Dontari Poe, on the defensive line. They tried to sign Brashard Breeland, but he failed the physical. I don't see a whole lot here for Carolina.
No, and it could be getting worse. And what you mentioned about Greg Olsen, he could be leaving. Yeah. He could be on his way out. If I'm not mistaken, the Carolina Panthers are visiting with a tight end. They lost Ed Dixon in free agency. So there leaves a hole at tight end. There could be a bigger hole if Greg Olsen leaves. That is one position of need I think they'll address. There's a couple of good tight ends coming out of the draft, but got to bring in a veteran here because Cam Newton is so accustomed to utilizing the tight end. It makes sense for them to bring in one. Torrey Smith, that totally reminds me of bringing in Ted Ginn a few years back. And Ted Ginn flourished. He had a career year in this offense. And Torrey Smith, he may be on the back nine, but he could bounce back and be a formidable fantasy receiver and a weapon, a deep threat that was missed last season.
Yeah, I don't like Torrey Smith in a comparison with Ted Ginn. But I'll tell you right now, if Greg Olsen...
Same player.
Torrey Smith don't have Ted Ginn's speed, though.
I mean, he's still a burner. No, you really don't see that.
Yeah.
You want to know what another good piece in this offense, and it would be cheap, and it could upgrade, and with Cam Newton's arm, Mike Wallace. That's an under the radar signing that I think the Panthers should address.
I'll tell you this right now: if Greg Olsen, who auditioned to be in the booth for Monday Night Football, gets that gig and leaves the Panthers will be top 10 in the draft next year.
You think so?
Yes, they'll fall off a cliff. They will fall off a cliff.
Season without Greg Olsen. I don't think his departure
how'd that work out
at this point. Huh?
I said, how'd that work out for them?
The Panthers were still a force. They were a playoff team.
Yeah. Did anybody really buy into the Panthers last year?
I was.
Yeah, okay,
I was at the end. I was definitely buying in at the end. The NFC's tough. That's not an easy. The Panthers could make a Super Bowl run in the AFC right now. That's how weak they are. That's how weak the AFC is. In the NFC, you can literally take 2 or 3 teams from each division and say they could make a run to the Super Bowl. And it's going to stay like that. They're a young. The NFC is young. They have young quarterbacks, young weapons. Once the AFC loses Brady, Roethlisberger, and Rivers, they're going to be atrocious at quarterback.
You know my feelings on Cam Newton. I'm not buying that. All right. What we got? The Bears brought in Allen Robinson, Chase Daniel, your boy Trey Burton from the Eagles. Let's see what else we got here. Signed Kyle Fuller, Sam Achu. You know what? I like what the Bears are doing. At least they're giving Trubisky some options.
Oh, I love what the Bears are doing right now. They addressed their receiver. They bring in Gabriel, who's a speedy slot receiver. You have Allen Robinson, and you also have Cameron Meredith coming back. At tight end, it was a head scratcher. I think Trey Burton could be a top tight end in the league. He's always produced behind Zach Ertz anytime he was given the opportunity. But the Bears already have Adam Shaheen. I think they're going to eat into each other's production a little bit from a fantasy perspective. But you very much expect Adam Shaheen to play the interior tight end and expect Trey Burton to play more in the slot or the outside, very much like Travis Kelce did with the Chiefs, because that's where the head coach, Matt Nagy, came from.
Isn't that what all the teams do now? They try and go with that 2 tight end set.
Yeah, I mean, but it works. I mean, the Patriots were really the first to excel at it, back when Aaron Hernandez was still in the league.
Let's see. The Bengals, not much. Cordy Glenn, they made the deal with the Bills. Signed Preston Brown, and they re-signed Tyler Eifert if he's ever going to be on the field.
Terrible. Why bring back Tyler Eifert? He cannot stay on the field. Another one, these back injuries. Players have a difficult time coming back from back injuries. He already couldn't stay on the field. Eifert's deal, what is he getting paid? $7 million, right? Something crazy?
Yeah, I would say it's something like that. I don't know the exact number. But you know what?
He's going to get paid.
You know what was funny about Eifert, and I saw this and I immediately thought of you when they re-signed him? It was Bengals re-sign Eifert taking top tight end off the free agency market. And I immediately thought of you because I know you would probably tell me Burton was the top tight end.
What, in free agency?
Yeah.
You know what? He is. I think he'll pan out more than anybody else. Because wait till we get the Jimmy Graham thing is going to be a disaster, but I'm sure we'll get to that.
Cleveland is doing basically just redoing the whole team, which considering they've won 1 game in 2 years, can't really blame them. Excuse me. Tyrod at quarterback, Carlos Hyde at running back, Landry at receiver, Darren Fells tight end. They've brought in 2 O tackles with Hubbard and Stevenson, Chris Smith for the defensive line, and Demarius Randall, TJ Carey, and Terrence Mitchell for corners. They're redoing the whole damn team.
You know, John Dorsey is going to be one of the candidates for General Manager of the Year. He's doing one hell of a job in Cleveland. You're going to give GM to the year for a team that's going to win 5 games? I think they're going to turn around.
Oh, well, yeah, we know. We heard you last week with 8 wins.
8 wins, Tyrod Taylor can definitely get you 8 wins with those weapons and that team around him. If he could do it in Buffalo,
winning 8 games.
I will take that. I will take the over, and you know that
they're not winning 8 games.
They're going to be the Jaguars. They're going to be this year's Jaguars. Watch.
We're gonna have when as the season gets closer, we're gonna have a bet on this. They're not winning 8 games. Not a chance. All right, you're over there decked out in all your Cowboys gear, and yet the Cowboys haven't done a single thing.
Typical Cowboys. They've done this ever since. I think the last big free agent signing was Brandon Carr, maybe 8 years ago. Their free agency comes from within. They give their players their second and third contracts. If they've earned them, they pay within. They have to pay Zach Martin. Listen, Andrew Norwell just got paid. Zach Martin's next. He's the best guard in the league. They franchise tagged DeMarcus Lawrence, who broke out with, I believe, 15 or 16 sacks, something like that last season. Cowboys need to do more. They need to add some wide receivers. They need to add some offensive line depth, possibly upgrade your left tackle of the future since Tyron Smith is getting up there. They have a lot of work to do, and I believe they're in the mix to trade for Earl Thomas. I don't know what it would take to get him.
One and a 3. 1 and a 3.
1 and a 3.
That's the asking price. You going to pay that for Earl Thomas?
You might have to, since secondary's been a need for Dallas for forever. The last time they had, I've said many times, Roy Williams was their last really good safety, and he sucked in coverage. And before that, it was Darren Woodson. Very, very long time of poor safety play in Dallas.
When are they just going to get rid of Dez? Come on, move along.
Dez is owed, I think, $12 million this year. Sammy Watkins is getting paid $16. I mean, essentially, the same kind of upside with each. It's almost smarter to keep Dez at this point.
All right, Denver Signed Case Keenum. I don't know who told you that 2 weeks before it happened. And Tremaine Brock at corner. I mean, Keenum's basically the only thing of note here with Denver so far.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of what John Elway has done since putting that Super Bowl team together with Peyton Manning. It's been a disaster since. It's been a disaster at quarterback. I think Keenum will be a huge upgrade. But, the ship has sailed for the Broncos. Emmanuel Sanders and Demaryius Thomas, they're both 30 years old. They have huge question marks at tight end, although they have Jake Butt, who is a quality prospect coming out. He spent the season on IR with a college knee injury in his rookie season in the NFL. He'll be coming in, so there'll be a weapon similar to Kyle Rudolph for Case Keenum. What are they doing at running back? C.J. Anderson, I doubt he's going to come back. He could be a post-June 1 release. He could be traded at draft time. They have a lot of work to do with Denver. I think it's going to be a very, very different backfield. But, yeah, Case Keenum, I think his presence helps Emmanuel Sanders and Demaryius Thomas more than they help him.
All I know is I told you Case Keenum to Denver 3 weeks ago. It's not surprising. All right. Lions. They brought in LeGarrette Blount. They've done some things on the defensive end. Tavon Wilson, Devon Kennard, but nothing too noteworthy here with Detroit.
Possibly one of their most surprising moves was cutting Eric Ebron, who looked like he could have started turning the corner last season, but they have a hole at tight end. They also lost Darren Fells, who I believe signed with the Browns at tight end. So they're going to upgrade tight end somewhere. I expect them to possibly target the top tight end on the board in the draft. But otherwise, Matt Patricia, he's going to build through the draft like the Patriots do. He's going to sign players from the second wave of free agency, and they're fine when it comes to offensive weapons and pass catchers.
I don't have a problem with them cutting Ebron. Turning the corner. Ebron's been up and down his whole career. Packers, they've only made 3 moves, but all noteworthy. They traded for Deshaun Kaiser, they signed Jimmy Graham, and they signed Muhammad Wilkerson.
Yeah, this is a new Packers regime. They blew out what was their old GM's name? I'm drawing a blank, but they never really put any piece.
Thompson?
Yes, Ted Thompson. Dom Capers. They parted ways with those those 2 contributors out off the field. And that might be their biggest moves because they were things that had to be done. It's a big, big question mark for the Packers. Why they brought in Jimmy Graham and why they let go Jordy Nelson. Both players were red zone threats.
Oh,
that's all they are at this point of their career.
That's what I want to get to.
And let me just keep going on Jimmy Graham for a second. And the Packers, what they've done in the past 2 off seasons, they brought in Jared Cook 2 years ago. Everybody was saying they finally got Aaron Rodgers at tight end. Jared Cook did nothing except knock my Cowboys out of the playoffs. The Packers brought in Martellus Bennett and Lance Kendricks, 2 of the top tight ends on last year's free agent class. Martellus Bennett didn't make it through the season, and Lance Kendricks, I don't even know if he made it on the field a lot. Tight end Jimmy Graham his production is going to plummet in Green Bay. I hate this move. And, as far as Jordy, what is he without Aaron Rodgers and their rapport?
Well, that's what I want to get to. First of all, you and me disagree on Jimmy. I don't think he's going to plummet because he wasn't exactly putting up huge numbers in Seattle.
His
touchdowns.
He put up double-digit touchdowns last year, but his reception and yardage totals plummeted from the year before.
That's my point. I mean, how much lower are they going to go?
I mean, let me see what Martellus Bennett did. 20 catches? What did Jared Cook do the year before? 30 catches?
I think Jimmy Graham I don't think he's going to plummet. But let's go to Jordy. And you're right. Cutting Jordy from a Green Bay Packers standpoint somewhat makes sense because, what is he without Aaron? And maybe you have some concerns about Aaron and the collarbone and all that stuff. Here's the problem. And we talked about this about a month or 2 ago because Rodgers came out and talked about how He was caught off guard when they let go of his quarterbacks coach. He wasn't consulted, and it bothered him. Same thing here, and this is a bigger deal because this is a quarterback coach. It's his receiver, and like his number one receiver, because you can talk about, Cobb or Adams or whoever you want. Okay, when Aaron Rodgers is on the field, Jordy Nelson is his guy, and they did not consult him, and he made it very well known how he felt about that. And he just saw Kirk Cousins get 87 or 89, whatever it was, guaranteed from Minnesota. You don't think Aaron Rodgers is getting ready to hold Green Bay over a barrel?
Is that the wisest decision in the world? And I think Aaron Rodgers knows that because, you want to tie up all your salary cap space and paying him guaranteed money. Minnesota had the room to do it. Green Bay doesn't.
At this point, if you're Aaron Rodgers,
you want to win.
Let's be real. Okay, and that's fine. But let's be realistic about this. Is Green Bay really the spot? If he could just pick, is Green Bay really the ideal spot for him to win?
He's not leaving Green Bay. He's not going out of Green Bay.
It's becoming more and more viable. I told you
Are you
that this was on the table.
DeShone Kaiser's they're going to let Aaron Rodgers go.
No. Kaiser. No, I'm not saying it's happening right now because he's still got years left. I think he might have 2 years left or a year left. I don't know. But no, Kaiser's not coming in and taking the job now. But that's not my point. Here's what I'm connecting. They let go of the QB coach, didn't tell him he had a problem. Now they let go of his receiver, and he has a major problem. I told you this was on the table when they let go of the QB coach. This only adds fuel to the fire. They're going to have to pay up to keep Rodgers there because I think that's the only way Rodgers stays. I think it is a very realistic option that Rodgers leaves Green Bay.
I don't know. I just don't see it. It would be a catastrophe in Green Bay and the fan base. It would be a catastrophe.
Well, get prepared. All right, Houston. I mean, outside of bringing in Honey Badger, I mean, they've done a lot of stuff on the O-line and on the defensive side, but nothing really of huge note.
No.
The Honey Badger going there just hurts me. Just hurts me.
Well, you wanted him in New York. I know that. And I wanted him in
Yes. I would say the connection was there with his old defensive coordinator on a one-year deal for $7 million. Like, come on. And he talked about wanting to go somewhere to win, and he goes to the Texans?
Why not? I mean, look what they offer with Deshaun Watson and DeAndre Hopkins in that offense. And, the defense is only 2 years removed of being the best in the NFL. I think, him landing there, all of a sudden the Texans could be, a top 5 or 10 defense, especially in fantasy. I'm going to be all over the Texans to make a comeback this year.
J.J. Watt actually going to get on the field?
Yeah, but they don't. I mean, they have so many pieces outside of Watt that it's almost like New England and Gronk to me at this point.
All right, the Colts haven't done nothing. I'm not going to talk about them. They're still trying to find the ghost of Andrew Luck. Let's talk about your Jaguars. Marquise Lee stays on a 4-year deal. They bring in Moncrief. They sign Safarian-Jenkins from the Jets. Also bring in Niles Paul. They steal Norwell from the Giants. DJ Hayden. I know you've got to be even more on your Jaguars bus than you've already been.
Make a strong team even stronger. You have to love everything the Jaguars did. Listen, if you take a look, they lost Allen Robinson, who, in my opinion, Marquise Lee and Allen Robinson, who were both picked in the second round in the same draft by the Jaguars. Lee was the more talented receiver, and he was the earlier pick. You lose Allen Robinson to the Bears, and you essentially retain Marquise Lee, and you bring in Dante Moncrief, and you get Austin Safarian-Jenkins, and relatively for the same money, maybe a little bit more. I have to add that up. But this is a smart move, very, very smart move, and you're adding more and more talent around Blake Bortles, who, as much as he's progressing, he needs all the talent around him to succeed.
I'll say. I like the Safarian-Jenkins move because somebody Bortles can actually hit on a 5-yard pass.
Don't hate on Mercedes Lewis, man. He's the all-time. If you ask anybody who the all-time Jaguars are, Tony Baselli, Mercedes Lewis have to be up there. Byron Leftwich and Garrard too. McCardell and Smith. I can go all day.
All right, that's enough. You didn't even bring up Mark Brunell. Come on, man.
Oh.
All right. What about the Chiefs here? We already talked about Sammy Watkins. They trade for Kendall Fuller, bring in Anthony Hitchens. I'm not in love with anything they're doing.
Hitchens, he's coming over from Dallas, and they also parted ways with the Chiefs. They parted ways with Tamba Ali and I believe Johnson Brian Johnson. Hitchens is younger, faster, quicker. That's what they're trying to get on the defense. They want to make that position faster and younger at linebacker. They did that. I think they could address safety and that secondary a little bit more, give Eric Berry a little bit more help. The Chiefs didn't really have to do much. It's more of addition by subtraction with the Alex Smith freeing up money. They're set at running back. I like what the Chiefs are doing. They have Andy Reid. They'll be fine, but very much a front runner for first place again in the NFC West.
Let's see. The Chargers, nothing really new. From Green and tight end, continue with Austin and Denver.
You know what? They signed. Hold on, I want to talk about Chargers real quick. Because they signed Caleb Sturgis to a 2-year deal. But they're talking to Janikowski. Now, I understand they think all the kickers they can get there in San Diego because they don't make kicks. But signing Sturgis to a 2-year deal kind of tells me that they think Sturgis might be our guy. So why talk to Janikowski?
I don't know. I don't get it either.
Okay.
I don't understand it either. I think at this point Sturgis is the better play anyway.
Well, yeah, I know you hate Janikowski. Let's see. The Rams, we talked about Talib and Peters last week. They also brought in Roby Coleman, so that fills out their corners. Sullivan at center. Nothing big there. Let's go to the Dolphins. Albert Wilson and Amendola at receiver. They put Sitton and Kilgore on the O-line. Quinn from the Rams on the defense. Akins at corner. They're putting pieces around. The question is Tannehill going to be healthy? I mean, I'm not down on the Dolphins if Tannehill's healthy. It's just I never see Tannehill healthy.
I'm not a big fan of anything the Dolphins are doing, to be honest with you. I think I think they're having they're putting pieces around, but are the pieces any good? What does Amendola have left? I think if he might have retired if they didn't throw the money at him. And Albert Wilson, he could be an upside fantasy play because maybe this year Robert Woods, who can get in the 12th, 13th round and put up production by default. But Devontae Parker, he hasn't panned out yet. Kenny Stills, he's a big play guy. You get rid of Jarvis Landry, it's a disaster. The Miami Dolphins, especially on offense, is a disaster.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I like the Dolphins a little more than you.
Huh.
All right, Vikings. They gave $84 million to Cousins. They also trade for Simeon, and they bring in Sheldon Richardson.
They took the two of the top free agents on the market. It's Super Bowl or bust.
Pretty much, and it'll be bust.
If the Vikings don't deliver Super Bowl in the next 2 years, it's a bust for Kirk Cousins.
So let's
talk 3 years. I don't even know if he has 2 years.
I was going to say it'll be bust. All right, so let's talk about the Patriots, who are losing a whole bunch of pieces, but then they do things that confuse me. They trade for Jason McCourty, so they've got the McCourty brothers on the same team here because he was going to get cut anyway, which again, why am I trading for him? They also get Danny Shelton. Then they re-signed Burkhead to a 3-year deal for almost $10 million, and then they signed Jeremy Hill.
Well, the Patriots love their running back stables. You can't fault them for that.
I know that, but this is why you can never play a New England running back.
I played them each of the past 2 seasons and won championships with them. Kirk Cousins, too.
Well, my point is I don't think the New England running back was the reason why you won those championships.
Oh, LeGarrette Blount, The strategy, the best way to play, here's a little fantasy tip. Here's how I play New England running backs, because everybody runs away from them and they fall to the later rounds. Sacrifice a position somewhere else and draft both Patriots running backs. They have 4 of them. Pick the top 2. I had James White and Blunt. I got them both the last 2 rounds of the draft 2 years ago. And last year I had Burkhead and Gillislee. Listen, Burkhead didn't pan out. Gillislee didn't pan out. Burkhead did. And then I ended up dropping Gillislee for Deion Lewis. So you have to roster 2 of them, and one of them will likely pan out. That's how you handle New England running backs. You got to kind of sacrifice 2 roster spots.
You got to find their number 1 option in the pass game, and you got to figure out who the bruiser is.
Yep.
Plain and simple. And
you got to draft them both.
All right. Breeze stays in New Orleans. No surprise there. They didn't do anything else. Demario Davis, Patrick Robinson, I don't think there's anything really to talk about there. All right, let me talk about my Giants here real quick, because they've done a lot. We talked about Jonathan Stewart. They signed Nate Solder to a crazy deal because they missed out on Norwell. That's Gettleman panicking. He missed out on his top guy, so he had to get the only option that was left. They brought in Kareem Martin. We talked about Ogletree last week. They're doing a lot of work on the defensive end to try and shore up some spots. They're starting to piece together an O-line. I'd like them to get one more piece on the defensive line. They're probably not going to do that. But you can see Gettleman at work here a bit. I can't fault him for anything he's done so far.
I wasn't a big fan that Jonathan Stewart was the first piece he landed, but then as he's adding these offensive line pieces, I like Stewart a little bit more, although he's not the long-term answer. I'm buying into the new regime in New York. I think it was time for a change, and they'll definitely be an improved team.
So he's putting the pieces there. Now let's just see what he does with that pick. On the other side of town, McCown stays, Bridgewater comes in, as does Isaiah Crowell, and they make splashes in the secondary with Trumaine Johnson.
Right. Exactly how I feel about that.
Okay. That's what the Jets usually are.
You got to like Isaiah Crowell. I think a change of scenery was due. It tells me that Bilal Powell is going to remain, underutilized, probably to end his career. I think he'll actually be a career-long Jet. And they don't believe in Elijah McGuire, although he did flash last year. Isaiah Crowell is going to be the guy in that backfield, and I think he could be a bounce-back candidate. And their defense, they re-signed Mo Claiborne. You said they brought in Trumaine Johnson. They have the 2 young safeties that we talked about last week. I can't fault anything the Jets are doing. They should be improved, man. You get the right quarterback there, and you figure out what's going on with Robbie Anderson. Jets will be okay.
See, here's going to be the fun game. If and when they draft a quarterback, who starts more games for the Jets this year? Josh McCown, Teddy Bridgewater, or mystery quarterback?
Josh McCown.
I'm taking Teddy B.
I think McCown's the better one there. He played well. He has rapport with their pass catchers already. They're young guys. I think the Jets will believe they can contend for this division.
They can believe that all they want. That's not going to happen. All right, so let's go to the team you hate, the Raiders. They bring in Doug Martin for a year. We already talked about Jordy Nelson. Tahir Whitehead at the linebacker, Rasheed Melvin for corner. I know you're hating everything that's going on in Oakland right now.
Oh, yeah. I'm not a fan. Starting with Gruden, even Marshawn Lynch last year. You move Crabtree, you bring in Nelson. That's essentially the same player. They got older at running back by bringing in Doug Martin. Raiders are this is a publicity stunt, I feel like, for the move to Vegas, and that's it. I think the Oakland Raiders are going to struggle mightily.
Here's the thing. If Derek Carr plays like he played last year...
I wasn't a fan of that contract they gave him either.
Well, but here's my point. If he plays like he played last year, they won't be good. If he plays like he plays 2 years ago, they might win the division.
Yeah, but what are we going to get out of Derek Carr?
But that's my point. Derek Carr is the thing, because all these moves don't matter. It's all about Derek Carr. Is it Derek Carr last year or 2 years ago? That's the difference. Because you look at that division, and if Derek Carr is closer to 2 years ago than he was last year, they could very much win that division because nobody's running away with it. And you can say whatever you want about the Chiefs, but Mahomes is the quarterback, and you have no idea what you're getting from Mahomes for a full year.
Yeah, I same thing here with Pat Mahomes. He's an unknown, but I still think Tyreek Hill will be a monster in that offense.
All right. The Super Bowl champion Eagles, they traded for Michael Bennett. They got Haloti Ngata. I mean, they've just done work on a defense that was already good. They re-signed Bradham. They brought in Corey Nelson and traded for Worley. I mean, I know that they're losing pieces and they've got cap issues, but I mean, I can't argue with any of these.
No, neither can I. We share a brain there.
All right. Steelers haven't done anything. The Niners, they brought in McKinnon for 4 years.
No, before you go on from the Steelers, do you think that they keep Martavis Bryant or not?
Yeah. Because what are you really getting for him? Somebody going to pay a bounty for Martavis Bryant right now?
I would say a wide receiver needy team. I think the Cowboys are in the wide receiver market too. And Bryant could flourish there. So. But yeah, I mean, I think there's a better chance he stays than goes. But I think there is a strong possibility.
I was saying, unless somebody got crazy and offered them something, I don't think he's going anywhere. All right, but the Niners, McKinnon and Richburg and Richard Sherman, who you called last week, those are the three big moves. I was saying, I know you. I mean, again, Jimmy G.
What do you mean? What about Jimmy G?
If he's Jimmy G that we saw the last 6 weeks, they're a decent team.
Oh, I love it. The 49ers are a playoff team.
Well, okay. I don't know if I'm going that far.
49ers will be a playoff team. Mark my words.
Again, I don't know if I'm going to go that far. Let's just calm down. Calm down. Let's see. The Seahawks. They signed Ed Dixon. They brought in Barkevius Mingo. They got Jerron Brown. But guess what? They haven't done a single damn thing to protect Russell Wilson.
No, and it's going to be much of the same in Seattle until they do. What are they going to do at running back? What are they going to do at wide receiver? They lost Paul Richardson, Tyler Lockett. They're going to lose both tight ends, if I'm not mistaken. Jimmy Graham and drawing a blank here.
Well, that's why they got Ed Dixon.
Luke Wilson. So, Seattle's rebuilding.
I was saying, run and Wilson, run. All right, Tampa Bay. I mean, basically, they're just re-signing people. They brought back Fitzpatrick. They signed Brake to that 6-year deal. They brought back Brent Grimes. I mean, nothing, keeping the team intact, which, okay, they weren't exactly great last year.
No, not at all. And I think they're going to continue to be, an average team in the NFL.
Titans trying to be the New England Patriots. They brought in Deion Lewis and Malcolm Butler, Quan Jones, Josh Klein. I mean,
Okay. Yeah.
Redskins, where we already knew about Alex Smith. They throw 5 years, $40 million in the Paul Richardson. I mean, the Redskins are just never going to be good.
Yeah, talk about as if they couldn't get any worse from the Kirk Cousins debacle. They really didn't make anything happen in free agency either.
It's never going to be good. All right, so let's switch. Let's get out of football now. Let's go to basketball. And before we get into anything specific, let's talk about something that maybe wasn't plausible here at the beginning of the year, or might not even have been plausible a month and a half ago, but might be a little more plausible now. The Cavaliers continue to muddle as they try and get healthy. Kevin Love still isn't back. Maybe when he gets back, that kind of steers the ship. And I'm not ready to just call it off with them. But I've stayed on that ship the whole time, whereas you've been on the Celtics ship, and that ship is sinking. They lost Theis for the year at center. Hayward isn't coming back. Marcus Smart might be done for the year. Fully healthy, I didn't buy into this team. Now they're losing major, major pieces.
You know, all I got to say is my 76ers.
We're going to get to your Sixers in a second.
My 76ers.
We're going to get to your Sixers. Just calm down.
76ers versus the Cleveland Cavaliers. That is going to be your East championship.
Okay, first of all, that could be a first-round matchup.
That's the basketball I want to see. I want to see LeBron playing against his future team.
Well, I'm going to tell you about some crazy thing that I heard yesterday. We'll get into that in a minute. But let me get back to more realistic options because enough with the Sixers. The Raptors, who are the top team in the East right now, and then you've got the Wizards hovering. Okay, but without John Wall, they're not very, they're up and down, but Wall will be back. The Wizards are a team that have had postseason problems, as are the Raptors for that fact. So it's hard, I give them the Atlanta Falcons syndrome, where until they got over that hump with Matt Ryan and going to the Super Bowl last year and then eventually did the historic choke, you can never buy into them ever winning anything. And even the way that they lost the Super Bowl, they might still be in that train of mind as far as I can't buy into them winning anything. But that's where I am with the Wizards and Raptors. Year after year, they've been among that second tier of teams that, we toss out as the possible teams that could dethrone LeBron in the East, and each year they fail. So is it realistic to look at a Celtics team that is down for the count at this point and a LeBron team which might be the weakest he has ever had or might be the weakest since that original team he took to the finals, and think that maybe realistically there's a chance that this is the year one of those second-tier teams can knock him off?
I think there is a realistic chance, but LeBron James is playing like a man possessed. He's playing like he's, 28 years old again.
Okay, but they're not winning games.
So who knocks him off? If it's not the Celtics, obviously.
No, don't ask me because I've been on the Cavs train the whole year. You were the one riding the Celtic train and telling me that they were going to beat the Cavs, and I was telling you they might win a game.
Okay, so you still think the Cavs are going to? Because
I'm still taking the Cavs, but what I'm saying is that I'm willing to admit that under the right set of circumstances, they're vulnerable. It's just, are the Raptors or the Wizards able to take advantage of that vulnerability? I can't buy into that.
The Raptors, perhaps. But, what about one of those sneaky teams like the Pacers coming out?
Stop the Pacers. Stop.
I know.
Stop. Who is going to match up with LeBron on Indiana? Oladipo?
Yeah. The Sixers is it, man.
All right. So let's go with Sixers since you want to keep going to this. Okay? Because there's a whole lot I got to say about the Sixers, and I've got a whole thing about the process. So let's just do this now. I heard this thing come out of somebody's mouth yesterday in which they said, I would love for the Sixers to play the Cavaliers in the playoffs. And it doesn't matter if we win a game or not, as long as we play our butts off as a sales pitch to LeBron James. Are you kidding me?
Head scratcher.
If you get swept, which you likely will, you might get a game, maybe. But if you get swept, that's not a sales pitch to LeBron James.
If they're competitive in those games, it is.
Oh, stop.
If they're competitive, yes, it is. Absolutely.
The Bulls were competitive with LeBron. Oh, I'm sorry. Did he ever think of going to the Bulls?
I think he'll like. I'm not going to change my mind. I think LeBron James is going to go to the 76ers, just like I said last year that the 76ers are going to be a playoff team and trust the process and all that.
Okay, so I'm glad you said that. Let's go with this trust the process. Because I want to tell you just how flawed this trust the process thing is.
Go on.
I'm going to throw you, and I'm only going to go back to 2011 because that's I think that's a good starting point for the process, okay?
Okay.
And I'm going to give you Sixer draft picks under the process, okay? You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Lavoy Allen. How'd that work out?
I remember him not well.
All right, and here, let me throw this out for sake too, okay? Lavoy Allen was the 50th overall pick in that draft, so, not like he came with lofty expectations, okay? Nikola Vujacic, 16th overall pick in 2011.
And where is he now? Is he even in the league anymore?
I think he's on Orlando now. He's actually pretty decent, but the Sixers,
the center.
Yes, the Sixers dealt him to the Magic in a 4-team deal that got them Andrew Bynum.
That was one of the worst things they could ever have done. I remember that deal too. Andrew Bynum, what a bust he was.
Let's see here. Tenorque Shingela, 54th overall pick in 2012. They traded him to the Nets, so he's not anything of substance here for this conversation. Justin Hamilton, the 45th overall pick in 2012, was dealt to the Heat to acquire Arnett Moultrie. Because Moultrie has turned out to be anything worthwhile.
None of these players are even on the team.
You're sensing my point here. 15th overall pick in 2012, Maurice Harkless. Also packaged in the deal to get Andrew Bynum.
No, he's a role player, a pretty quality role player in Portland, a young and up-and-coming Portland team.
Pierre Jackson was the 42nd overall pick in 2013. He was traded along with Drew Holiday to the Pelicans in the Nerlens Noel deal, who we're going to get to momentarily.
Okay.
Glenn Rice Jr., the 35th overall pick in 2013, was traded to the Wizards for Nate Wolters and Arzalin Kazemi, because you've ever heard of either of them. Michael Carter-Williams, the 11th overall pick in 2013. You might remember him. He won Rookie of the Year that year, and then they traded him away in 2015 to the Bucks. 54th overall pick in 2014, Nemegema Negubic is playing in Serbia, averaging less than 5 points a game. They also drafted Vasily Micic, 52nd overall in 2014. He's playing overseas, also averaging less than 5 points a game. Russ Smith, the 47th overall pick in 2014, traded to the Pelicans for Pierre Jackson, because you know who Pierre Jackson is. Jeremy Grant was the 39th overall pick in 2014. He now plays for the Bulls.
No, Jeremy Grant, isn't he in Oklahoma City?
No, I think isn't he back with the Bulls now?
Is he?
I think so. I'm pretty sure he's back with the Bulls now. Anyway, long story short, he's not on the Sixers. KJ McDaniels, 32nd overall pick in 2014, traded to the Rockets in his rookie year, so that worked out really well again. Elfrid Payton, 10th overall pick in 2014. They traded him to the Magic on draft night for Dario Saric. That one I can't kill him for. Saric is now...
Yeah, but so is Elfrid Payton. He was moved from Orlando this year. I forgot who he landed with, but he's
with Phoenix.
Player.
I was like, he's with Phoenix now.
Yeah, he's flourishing in Phoenix. Playing much better than he did in Orlando.
And more importantly, he's a true point guard, something the Sixers don't have. Okay, 3rd overall pick in 2014, Joel Embiid. He's finally playing a full season this year. 54th overall pick in 2015 was J.P. Tikoto. He didn't even make the team. They have a couple of picks here, 47th overall in 2015 and the 60th overall pick, Gudaitis and Mitrovic, playing in Lithuania and Serbia, respectively. Rashawn Holmes is on the team right now. He was the 37th overall pick in 2015. He currently, like I said, is on the team, averaging a little under 6 points a game and 4 rebounds. Next up is Willie Hernan Gomez, 35th overall pick in 2015. They traded him to the Knicks for a couple of second-round picks on draft night. Jahlil Okafor, the 3rd overall pick in 2015, no longer on the team. Ferdinand Cormix, the 26th overall pick in 2016. If I'm not mistaken, he is currently on the team now. Yes, he is. And he has played in a whopping 6 games this year where he averages 1.5 points and a rebound a game. Timothy Luwawa Karabet, the 24th overall pick in 2016, currently on the team. And where is he at? So I can give you these awesome numbers. He's hiding from me. I lost him. Is he even on it? I thought he was on the team. I can't find him, so maybe I was wrong. Maybe he's not on the team. I thought he was. Ben Simmons finally playing a season this year. Okay? So there you go. Rounds it out.
What about Markel Fultz?
Well, I'm not even going into this year's draft. Okay? But there you go.
Okay, but, there was a lot of...
No. So, the 2 noteworthy names in that are Embiid and Simmons, obviously.
And Dario Saric.
Well, Saric was a trade for Peyton. Okay, fine. Okay, so fine. We'll go 3. Embiid playing his first full season, which isn't a full season because he doesn't play back-to-backs. Simmons also playing his first full season. And Saric, which is a lower, well, I don't want to say lower because he's a nice player, but on a good team, he's a 3rd or 4th option. And then you have a bunch of picks that aren't even in the organization anymore or are noteworthy.
Yeah, but that's the NBA.
No, here's the thing. Here's what you're missing with trust the process. Okay? When you tank for a half a decade and are in the lottery every stinking year, you shouldn't just be a playoff team now. You should be a threat. I should have guys who have played 2, 3 full years and be all-stars. They don't have that. They have 2 guys who can apparently play a full season now. Their lottery pick from this year can't even get on a damn floor because you can't shoot.
Them to be the Golden State Warriors.
They should be. That's the point. Trust the process. What am I trusting? A team that can't draft anybody?
I mean, they're winning now. They're playing winning basketball now, and the process is coming to fruition right now.
They're a middle tier team in a crap conference.
Yes. And you know what? That's all they need. That's all that's needed to get there. And you got to be in it to win it. That's all they need.
They're not winning anything. Stop trusting the process. This isn't a selling point to LeBron. LeBron is coming here with the idea that you're going to be able to build around him. What are you building? He can't trust you in the draft. Okay, I already talked about how. All right, and here's the thing. LeBron
you're going to be wearing your I Love LeBron t-shirt or tattoo when this is all said and done at the Walt Whitman Bridge.
LeBron ideally wants to go somewhere where he can bring Paul George. That doesn't work in Philly. You already have 400 forwards. You need a guard. Stop trusting the process. It's a lie.
I'm gonna continue to buy in. And we're going to be having this conversation a year from now, and the Sixers are going to be the best team in the East.
See, here's the problem with living in this area right now. Okay? The Eagles won the Super Bowl. Everybody's buying into this whole process garbage because the Sixers are going to make the playoffs at a crappy conference. And the Philly side Jake Arrieta, and now they think that they've got a Cy Young winner and they're back to glory days from almost a decade ago. Stop!
Bryce Harper. They brought in they're bringing in pieces. They're going to get this star power.
You know what the funny thing is
Philadelphia looks a lot more attractive now that the Eagles are on top and the 76ers are turning it around. I'm not sure what the Flyers are doing because I don't watch hockey, but the Phillies are bringing in pieces. They're a young team. Why not Bryce Harper? He wants to play there. He's successful hitting in that stadium. Why not Bryce Harper?
Next winter.
The Yankees really need him.
Next winter, Bryce Harper in this town is going to be what LeBron James is in this town right now.
Yes.
And you know what the common thread between the two are? Neither are coming. Oh, my God. Stop. By the way, speaking of the Jake Arrieta signing, have fun with that. Have fun. Because it's going to be a bumpy first year.
You wouldn't take him on the Mets?
What did I say last week? These guys who are getting signed now, who have missed half or now 3/4 of training camp because the start of the season is 2 weeks away. So they've missed a majority of spring training. They don't do well that season. They don't, and especially pitchers. Pitchers are all pitchers.
Arrieta's a veteran. He's been around.
It does not matter. They're creatures of habit. They go through a routine. He hasn't done anything.
You don't think they're pitching on their own?
It's different. It's different. Working out on your own and working out, with your pitching coach and with the team and all that stuff, and being in spring training games, it's stretching out that way. It's different. It's different. Come on, throw it. You're not Mr. Baseball. I am. But nevertheless, I'll let you throw out the number. Okay? You can even Google Jake Arrieta the last few years to give you something of substance.
I will.
Okay? Arrieta won the – no, he didn't win the site. He was among site.
In the conversation.
Get this right.
In the conversation.
Yeah, he was there you go, in the conversation. He didn't win. Scherzer's won the last couple of years. Okay? But he was very much in the conversation 2 years ago when the Cubs won the World Series. All right? He might have – I don't remember. He might have won 20 that year. You can double check me. But he's been in the high teens, I can tell you that much.
Okay, I'm looking at career stats. I'm looking at Jake Arrieta.
Let's go. Just give me 2015 through 2017 wins. That's all I need.
22, 18, 14.
All right, there you go. Yeah, okay, so 2015 was the big year where he went 22. All right, so 22, 18, and what, 14?
Yes. It's coming. Right. It looks like he's coming back down to earth.
Okay, so, well, there you go, and the Phillies just signed him. But anyway, so go ahead, throw out a number.
Of wins?
Wins.
I think he can match 14.
Under. You could have given me 12 and I would have taken the under.
You just think it's going to be a disaster in Philadelphia?
It's not going to be a good first year. And here's the thing. He's got a option to get out of the It's essentially a I forget exactly. It can go out to 5 years, but he's got an option after the second year, I believe, where he can get out of the contract, or maybe it's the third year. Actually, I think it's the third year. He's going to have to pitch extremely well in that second and third year, because if he bombs like I expect him to in this first year, and then he's even average in those next 2 years, he's going to take the money and run, and the Phillies will be on the hook for the last 2 years. So everybody can get excited. Oh, the Phillies got Jake Arrieta. There's the 1A or 1A to 1B with Nola. No. Stop. You better hope J.P. Crawford finally turns into this elite prospect he was supposed to be.
And realistically, where are knowing I don't know much about baseball, how close are the Phillies to turning it around? I've heard Reese Hopkins' name before, Mikael Franco. I've heard some of these names before. I mentioned as pretty good prospects. Aaron Nola.
Yeah, Nola's a legit top of the rotation guy. They still need pitching beyond that. That's why they got Arrieta. I mean, Vince Velasquez has been up and down injury. Same thing, Eichhoff's there, whatever. The rotation after Nola is a question mark. Hoskins burst onto the scene last year. Can he do it for a full year this year? Franco, down year last year. Teams actually wanted to trade for him. The Phillies don't want to sell low. They're hoping that he can rebound and be the guy that he was 2 years ago. The outfield, question marks. What is J.P. Crawford? We're going to find that out this year. They've got the prospect Kingery, who plays second. Will we see him at this point? It's what are the kids going to do? Are the kids who are these top ranked prospects going to be what the billing is? Is J.P. Crawford going to be? At one point he was the top prospect in baseball. Is he going to be that type of guy? Kingery is a top prospect. Is he going to be that type of guy? If these guys pan out, the rebuild can turn around within 2 years. They have a decent year this year. They go out, they fill some holes in free agency next year. 2-3 years, all of a sudden they're a team. The Nationals will be coming back down. The Mets are The other team they've got to concern themselves with is the Braves, who are in a similar situation. The Marlins are just garbage. But the Phillies are a giant question mark. They can go up or down very quickly, depending on how the kids do. So I get that everybody wants to be excited, but be realistic. And Jake Arrieta is not an answer. I'm sorry. He's not.
Fair assessment. Like I said, I just wanted to know, because it could play how they do this season, right? If Bryce Harper comes out.
They have to. All right, enough with Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper's not coming. But they have to be a mid-70s win team this year. Okay, I'm not even telling them to be 500. Mid-70s. That shows you're making progress, and that makes you viable to attract free agents in the upcoming year. But if they're another, if they're a high 60s, low 70s win team, if they win 71 games or something like that, I can't say they're making progress.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Next week, by the way, on this show, which will be very interesting for Anthony, as he just admitted he's not Mr. Baseball, we are going to do the baseball preview show right here with the season upcoming. So it'll be over-unders and predictions and all kinds of stuff.
I think I can pull it off. Like I said, I've taken a little bit more of an interest in baseball this year.
By the way, they've gone and screwed up baseball again, just on the minor league level this time.
And what did they do?
Right? They've got their pitch clocks installed. They've had that. They went and limited the amount of mound visits you're allowed to do. Okay, I think the number is 6. But more importantly, okay, and when you think about, especially postseason games, and you think about some of the all-time postseason games, okay, think about the Cubs World Series win. We're only going back 2 years. Think about the Cubs World Series win against the Indians in that Game 7.
Okay.
The Cubs have the lead. They're just a few outs away. And then the home run from the Indians ties the game, and all of a sudden you think, here's the curse of the Cubs striking, blah, 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 blah. We go to extra innings. You have the rain delay to add a little bit of extra intrigue, whatever, but we go to extra innings. And that game ended quickly, 10th inning, maybe the 11th inning, but it ended quickly. We didn't have to go deep into extra innings. But mind you, how different would that game look if you start the 10th inning and there's a guy on second base already? It's stupid. Stop trying to speed up games. If we're going to extra innings, the game's already been long. What's the difference?
Yeah, like I said, I'm not a fan of all these changes, but it's going to be a lot for me to get used to all these new rules in baseball.
This is only on the minor league level, so you won't have to concern yourself with it. But for the love of God, stop! Stop it! Stop messing with the damn game. As we do every week here when we wrap up Sports Talk Uncut, we all have a final thought. Anthony, do you have your final thought prepared this week?
Yes,
Normally,
I do.
There we go. Go ahead, take it away.
Being on the NFL end of a lot of things, I almost feel like, like when everybody is anticipating the first day of the league new year and free agency, it seems like it was almost a dead day because everything was done during the tampering period. It's almost like opening your presents on Christmas Eve and then what's left on Christmas Day. I think the NFL and the media could do a little bit of a better job of keeping some of these rumors in or making, the signing period, then just take out the tampering period. Just take out that 3 days and let it start.
Exactly, because it's an oxymoron to call it a tampering period when it's not tampering.
Right.
And yeah, if teams can talk with guys and essentially reach agreements during those, whatever it is, 2-3 days, start the signing period then. I mean, I don't understand what's so difficult about this. It seems pretty much common sense to me, but it's the NFL, so. All right, here's my final thought, and I need your help on this because I need somebody for comparison's sake. What I'm looking for is an elite player, right? It doesn't even have to be somebody currently elite, but elite. Preferably, I'd like a quarterback because that's going to be the best comparison here. I need an elite quarterback who has never even gotten to a conference championship, let alone a Super Bowl. So, Dan Marino is out of the equation because he got to a Super Bowl. Jim Kelly got to a bunch of Super Bowls. He's out of the equation. I need somebody who was regarded as a top-tier quarterback, but just never got his team anywhere close. That's what I'm looking for right now.
You want that from me?
I need help. I've been trying to think about it. Because everybody, you pop up with names in your head. Rivers? Did he not get to an AFC championship game, though?
Yeah.
That's the point. You can't get to a conference championship. That's what makes this tough.
About Matt Stafford.
Is he... all right. I mean, for comparison's sake, I don't know. Do we consider Matt Stafford elite?
Oh, you're going to go elite. Then I'm not considering Phillip Rivers elite either.
No, I'm talking about elite. I'm talking about top tier guy.
Let me think about this here.
I mean, Stafford might be the best comparison we can come up with because he's among the. I mean, he's probably in the second tier, but he's not elite. I'd like to.
Promo.
Oh, well, now we're going to get in an argument because again, we want to go elite Tony Romo.
I mean, I don't know if you can use the term elite in quarterback. I mean, Dan Marino got them to Super Bowls.
Yeah, Romo might be a good comparison. All right, here's where I'm going to go with this because we're struggling, but Romo might be a good one because depending on who you want to talk to. I mean, some people think Tony Romo is a Hall of Famer, depending on who you want to talk to. And here's where I'm going with this: Alexander Ovechkin just scored his 700th goal or 600th goal. Whatever. He just hit a milestone. And the conversation is now turning that at the rate that he's scoring and expecting that as he gets older that'll take a hit, but he is a legitimate threat for Gretzky's goal record. And I was thinking about this because it it's a legitimate conversation at this point. Ovechkin is a 40, 50 goal scorer as long as he's healthy almost every season. And even if he starts to take a hit, as long as he stays in the mid-30 range and he plays, and he's still got several seasons ahead of him, it'll be close. Even Gretzky at the end wasn't scoring, 35, 40 goals a year. So it's a legitimate conversation. The question is let's say he does break Gretzky's goal scoring record, right? And he's not going to break the points record or anything. I mean, nobody's ever going to touch Gretzky in assists or anything like that. But let's say he breaks the goal scoring record. What does that do to how people view Alex Ovechkin? Because here is a guy who is commonly regarded as the best goal scorer in hockey. And if he takes out a Gretzky record, some people may automatically think of, well, he just took out Wayne Gretzky. He's got to be one of the greatest of all time.
Right.
But is he really? Because up to this point, and I'm talking about with teams that were even the top teams in the Eastern Conference, Alex Ovechkin has never gotten his team to an Eastern Conference final, let alone a Stanley Cup final. So how am I supposed to feel about Alex Ovechkin breaking a Wayne Gretzky record when he's obviously not one of these? I can't view him as an all-time great player. I mean, he's just an all-time great scorer if he can't even get to a conference championship.
Yeah, I can see your point here, and I think Romo could be the best comparison there. Because I remember, back when I watched hockey a little bit years ago, when Ovechkin was supposed to be the next big thing, and it never really panned out in the postseason, like you said, and he could just go down as one of the better point scorers in a game, and that's it.
I want to,
but I believe you could still be great without winning a championship.
And I want to, I have this in front of me now. And here's the other thing about Ovechkin. He hasn't been, I don't want to say horrible, because for the most part he hasn't been. But, I say he hasn't been to a conference championship yet with those Capitals teams. And, some people might say, well, it's hockey. It's all about the goaltending. You got to have a hot goaltender. You can look to a bunch of teams and goaltenders really rode the wave. And to some extent, that's true. A lot of those Capitals teams, though, can't blame the goaltending on. Okay, if they had more goal scoring, they would have won games and series. So obviously, that makes me think of Ovechkin. So here's where I'm going with this. In the playoffs, history-wise, Alexander Ovechkin, overall, 97 career games, 90 career points, 46 career goals. Now, for comparison's sake, here, as I go up, in 992 career games in the regular season, he has 600 goals. So, but my point is that you go through his playoffs in his age 22 year, 7 games, 4 goals. Second year, 14 games, 11 goals. Third year, 7 games, 5 goals. Next year, 9 games, 5 goals. Okay, those first 4 years, pretty good. Pretty much a goal every other game or close to every game. Right? With me?
Okay.
Now let's go beyond that. 2011, 2012, 14 games, 5 goals. The next year, 7 games, 1 goal. The following year, 14 games, 5 goals. Following year, 12 games, 5 goals. And last year, 13 games, 5 goals. Those last two, not horrible. My point is that in the playoffs, where things get tougher and the ice shrinks, Alex Ovechkin, while he has not been just a complete enigma, has not been the overwhelming dominant goal scorer that we think of him. So when all is said and done, whether or not he breaks Gretzky's record or not, we may talk about him as one of the best goal scorers of all time. I think we do that already. Like I said, he may be in that conversation, of among the best, if not the best. But as far as all-time great players, he's not in that conversation, at least not yet, unless something changes. I can come up with a bunch of names off the top of my head who may not have been the goal-scoring prowess that Ovechkin has, but I'd put them well above Ovechkin as far as all time. So he can eye Gretzky's goal scoring record all he wants, but until he gets over the hump, I'm not even going to pay him any mind. Plain and simple. That's it this week for Sports Talk Uncut. As always, you can follow us on the Twitter at sports_talku. If you missed any of the show, you can check it out at thegruelingtruth.net. We're on there. Be sure to listen to our wrestling show if you are a fan of that. That's Heel Talk Radio, also on thegruelingtruth.com. You can check that out on Twitter at Heel Talk Radio GT. So, again, next week, our baseball preview show. We'll talk any more football that might happen. And I'm sure by then we'll have a little clearer picture on what we're looking at NBA playoff-wise. But until next week, for Anthony Servino, I'm Dan Siegel. We'll see you then.
See you later.